Welcome to Season 3 of the Languages Pedagogy Podcast, where language learning meets innovation, culture, and pedagogy. I'm Mike, your host, and together we'll explore groundbreaking strategies, challenge traditional methods, and empower educators and learners alike. So whether you're a teacher, a student, or a language enthusiast, get ready to dive into insightful discussions, expert interviews, and practical tools that will transform the way you teach and learn languages. So grab your headphones and let's get started. Imagine you're sitting in a bustling cafe in Paris, enjoying a quiet moment when a French friend leans over and says, "Je ne pas tes oignons." If you're an English speaker, your mind immediately tries to make sense of this phrase. It's not your onions? What does that even mean? Well, in French, this expression actually means it's none of your business. Now, let's flip the scenario. You're in an English-speaking country and someone jokingly tells a non-native speaker, "It's raining cats and dogs." Their face twists in confusion. Why would the weather involve falling animals? This is just a glimpse of what gets lost in translation. Language is far more than just words. It carries history, humor, emotions, and cultural identity as well. And yet, despite our best efforts, some meanings simply refuse to cross linguistic borders. Why do some concepts exist in one language but not in another? What makes humor so difficult to translate? How does language shape the way we see the world? And what happens when that view doesn't align with another culture's perspective? That's what we're exploring today. This episode is called Cultural Nuances in Language. What get lost in translation? And over the next minute, we will uncover the fundamental challenges of translation, why words aren't always interchangeable, how humor, sarcasm, and idioms are culturally bound, and why they don't always make sense in another language. The fascinating world of untranslatable words, concepts that exist in one culture but not in another. The neuroscience of language perception, how different linguistic structures shape thought. Real-life examples of translation mishaps in history, business, and literature. Expert insight from linguists, translators, and cultural researchers on why certain expressions are so difficult to translate. Practical strategies for language learners and translators to navigate cultural nuance effectively. This is not just an episode about words, okay? It's about how we think, how we communicate, and how language shapes the world around us. So, grab a cup of coffee, get comfortable, and let's embark on a journey into untranslatable, the misunderstood, and the deeply cultural aspects of language. The science of translation. Why some words and concepts simply don't transfer across languages. Language is often thought of as a direct system of labels, where every word has an equivalent in another language. But this assumption is fundamentally flawed. Linguists and cognitive scientists have long studied how language reflects culture, and the findings are fascinating. One of the most influential theories in this field is linguistic relativity, often called the Sapir-Whorf hypothesis. This one suggests that the structure of a language influences how its speakers perceive the world. Some ideas and emotions exist in certain cultures because they are reinforced by language itself. When we translate, we are not just converting words. We are navigating an entirely different conceptual framework. Now, consider this. In English, the word love is broad. We use it to describe romantic love, family love, and even our love for food. But in Greek, there are several words for love, each expressing a specific type of affection. For example, eros, passionate or romantic love. We have philia, deep friendship and brotherly love. Agape, unconditional, selfless love. And storge, love between parents and children. A simple translation of I love you into Greek might not fully capture the intended depth or type of love. Now, imagine how this complexity plays out across thousands of languages. Untranslatable words, concepts that exist in one culture but not another. Some words simply do not exist outside their native language, not because they are unimportant, but because they reflect experiences that are deeply tied to a specific cultural worldview. Here are some stunning examples. There's a word that is in Portuguese. It's saudade, a deep melancholic longing for something or someone that may never return. It's not just nostalgia. It carries a mix of sadness, love, and incompleteness. Can you imagine that? This is a total different one, right? Let's go with another one. This one is from the Easter Island in Chile. It's from Pascuense. Tingo, the act of slowly borrowing things from a friend's house until nothing is left. Crazy, right? And here we have another one. The paisman, the feeling of being out of place in a foreign country, disconnected from what is familiar. And hygge, which is in Danish, a deep sense of cozy, warm comfort, usually with loved ones and good food. Each of these words tells us something about how that culture sees the world and how language reinforces that worldview. The challenge for translators? Well, how do you communicate these meanings without losing their essence? Why humor and idioms rarely survive translation? Humor is one of the most difficult things to translate, let's face it, because it is rooted in cultural knowledge, expectations, and shared experiences. Let's take a look at how humor works differently across cultures. So in English-speaking cultures, sarcasm and irony are widely used. For example, if it's pouring rain, an English speaker might say, "Oh, what a beautiful day," right? A native speaker immediately recognizes this as sarcasm. But in many languages, sarcasm is used less frequently or in different ways, making it hard to translate. Meanwhile, Japanese humor often relies on wordplay and puns, which don't work when directly translated. In Russian, humor leans heavily on dark existential irony, which might feel overly grim to cultures with more lighthearted comedic traditions. And well, the idioms? They're almost impossible to translate word for word. So in English, it's raining cats and dogs. In French, le pleut des cordes, which is it raining ropes. Spanish, está lloviendo a cántaros, which is it's raining jogs. In German, well, this one is pretty hard, but this one is like it's raining thick strings. Crazy, right? So each expression makes sense within its culture, but when translated literally, they sound absurd. This is why mastering a language means understanding its humor, idioms, and cultural context, not just vocabulary. And well, before we head into the following part of this amazing episode, it's been really good. I hope you really actually learned something out of this one, because every single part from this podcast is pretty well researched and summarized in a way that you can actually understand it faster and better. All right. So just want to remind you that new episodes drops every Monday and Friday. So make sure to tune in weekly for your dose of thought-provoking conversation. You can also find our show on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and Amazon Music. And if you have time, you can also pay a visit to our website, MikeEnglishOnline.com, where you will find tons of resources. Not only resources for learning and teaching, but you can also subscribe there for online lessons, which is Broad Club Languages. If you're interested in learning languages, just go over there, connect with us, and tell us what would you like to learn a new language, what language you would like to learn. All right? So if you like this episode as well, don't forget to put a comment. All right? Just give us a comment. Share with us what you think about it, what you think about these nuances in language learning and language teaching, right? In culture. So don't forget to subscribe, rate, and follow us for more. So what have we learned today? Language is not a system of words. It is a reflection of culture, thought, and worldview. Some ideas and emotions simply cannot be translated perfectly. Humor, idioms, and cultural expressions require deep understanding, not just linguistic accuracy. So the next time you encounter a phrase that doesn't quite translate, embrace it. Because to truly understand a language, you must also understand its culture. And with that, I leave you with this. Until next time, keep speaking, keep exploring, and keep discovering the richness of language beyond translation.